When I tell you I've been racking my brain doing as much research as possible to find out if the Detroit Lions legitimately have a chance to land Calais Campbell, assuming that the Dolphins are eliminated from playoff contention this week in Week 17, I'm trying to figure out how could they get their hands on him. Now, I understand in the comment section, we've been having a debate on whether or not Calais Campbell has to pass through waivers or he can be cut outright. But if you've noticed, you have not heard anybody been released. Everyone has to be passed through waivers. So even if the terminology released is used, you have to go through waivers. We've seen Josh Reynolds, a guy that was familiar with the Detroit Lions. He got released after the trade deadline and wind up going to the Jacksonville Jaguars. So it's as it stands after the trade deadline, and that is but I have not been able to find that in writing from any website like officially with the NFL, but it seems to be the case that after the NFL trade deadline, to keep teams from overstocking with talent, they make every player, whether you have the vested years or not, they make you go through waivers. Now, one of my thoughts was that maybe the NFL could, let's say the Miami Dolphins are eliminated, and we'll go over their scenarios this week. That my initial thought was that the teams would say, look, this guy's been in the league for 17 years. And yes, we could use him, but we're not going to do that to him, right? We have nothing to play for or very little to play for. We're not going to claim him. So we're going to let him slide, right? Slide and go to a legitimate playoff contending team. Now, you got 14 teams in the playoff. How many of those are legitimate contenders? I'm going to tell you what. Last year, in the AFC, it was the number 1 and 3 seeds on both teams, on both conferences. The number 1 and 3 seeds in the AFC and NFC went to the NFC title game. So let's just hypothetically say, for the sake of stats, that one of the teams that make it to the Super Bowl is going to be seeds 1, 2, or 3 on each side. So that would leave 6 teams out of the 14 that Calais Campbell would choose to go to if it was up to him. But again, I haven't found any concrete information of how this is working. But if you look at how it's been working since the trade deadline, it looks like that is the case, that no matter how many vested years you have, once the NFL trade deadline passes, you must clear through waivers, no matter if you've been in the league for 7 years or 17 years, right? So my thing is, let's first look and see what the likelihood of the Miami Dolphins being eliminated. And first, let me say this. How much do I want to win? First of all, this is no knock on Calais Campbell. Dude is a dog. He's playing at 40 years old almost. I mean, doing a thing. Bruce Irvin, I thought Bruce Irvin was a dinosaur at 36. But the thing about it is, I was like, yo, if your numbers ain't lying, if your numbers ain't really showing your age, how can I really complain? And I watched the film on this guy, and he is still a force, requires a double team, and can still blow through offensive linemen at 39 years old, 38-ish, somewhere around. I think he's 38. He'll be turning 39. So I'm not, and I told you guys before, I have zero complaints. We could sign anybody, and I would not complain because we need bodies at this point. We have 3 games left. If we don't go all the way, we have a minimum of 3 games left. A minimum of 3 games. We have a maximum of 6, I believe. A minimum of 3, a maximum of 7. No, I'm sorry. A minimum of, we got 1, 2, 3, a minimum of 3, a maximum of 6. Yes, I'm merging 2 of the playoff games together. If we get the wild card and we got to go all the way, that will be 4 games, including the Super Bowl, with the 2 that we have left. If we don't and we get a bye week, that would be 3 games, so for a total of 6. There you go. I got it. All right, so here are 3 scenarios in which that the Miami Dolphins can clinch a playoff berth. These things have to happen for them to go. Scenario number 1 is they need to win out. They need to beat Cleveland and New Jersey. 2 things that could happen. The Chargers need to lose out. That is not going to happen. There's no way they get beat by New England, who gave the Buffalo Bills a fight, and Vegas, who just cannot seem to do anything right. The Colts lose or tie at least 1 game against the Giants and Jacksonville. The Colts should likely win both of those games. So anything outside of this. So basically, the Dolphins lose a game, or the Chargers win a game, or the Colts win a game. They're out. Scenario number 2, the Dolphins win out, the Broncos lose out, and the Colts lose, tie one game. Again, don't see that happening. The Broncos very well could lose out, so this could happen, but I don't see that the Colts will lose to either one of these teams. But this scenario is likely. I think right now scenario 2 is the most likely of the one that we looked at before. And scenario number 3, Dolphins went out. That must happen for them to go. Chargers lose out, and the Broncos lose out. I think that in reality, number 2 is the reality. But if the Dolphins, so basically the Dolphins have to win out, okay? If the Chargers win 1, the Dolphins are out. If the Colts win 1, the Dolphins are out. If the Broncos win 1, the Dolphins are out. If the Colts win 1, we already did that. So that is basically what has to happen. The Bengals have an off chance of getting in the playoffs, and they're fighting. They do that all the time. So with that being the case, the likelihood that this weekend, obviously the Dolphins need all the help they can get. They need all the help they can get. And I don't think it's going to go like that. They have to win, but it's not in their control. They got to win, but they need a lot of other things to happen as well. I don't think that happens. It could, but I don't think that happens. So here's the point of this video. I think the Detroit Lions will have a better chance than you may think, but how does Calais Campbell clear all the bad teams? My thought is that the Miami Dolphins will wait to the last possible minute that they can waive him, and that where he won't have to play on a non-playoff team. I don't know how that would work exactly. It was just something I was thinking about as I was making a previous video, that if the Miami, let's say it's week 18, but week 18 officially is over the Wednesday of Wild Card Weekend. So we're in January. The NFL season is done. It's been 272 games. That's over. If they can waive him before the start of the new league week, which would be the wild card game, then maybe he can go. So I'm thinking maybe they can take advantage of whatever system is at play, that they can wait to the playoffs. So even though they're eliminated, right, they still wait, and they waive him when there's only 14 teams that he could go to. Just a thought. I don't know if they can do that and how they would do it. I'm sure they can, but how is the bigger question. So what's the likelihood that he clears waivers for the playoffs? I'm going to say 0, but there is a possibility that he could threaten a retirement. That these teams are collectively come together and say, you know what, let's let Calais, we're going to honor the veteran's choice. You've been in the league 17 years. We're not going to force you to do anything. We're going to let you go to the team of your choice. That's the way that I'm looking at this. But if he waits, if that's not the case, and he has to go through waivers, I have pulled up in the order of waiver wire, draft priority order, and the Chiefs will be last. The Vikings would be before us. So now we have dropped to 30th in the waiver wire. The Eagles, Bills, Packers, Commanders, Steelers. But as we discussed right now, earlier, he's already played for the Ravens. He's already been there. As we discussed earlier, the likelihood, if you look at the statistics of how things go in the National Football League, it's very rare that the lower seeds make the Super Bowl or even the NFC title game. So last year, seeds 1 and 3 made the Super Bowl. 1 and 3 made the conference championship games. And you can go look at the stats. It's very rare that a lower seed, I'm talking about 5 through 7, make it to the championship game or the Super Bowl. So with that being said, let's say they let Calais Campbell pick where he wants to go. He would, if you look at the number 1 and 3 seeds, it would be the Detroit Lions are the first seed in the NFC. The Kansas City Chiefs are the first seed in the AFC. If we look at the second and third seeds, you have the Bills are the second seed. The Eagles are the second seed in the NFC. So Bills AFC, Eagles NFC. Then if you look at the third seeds, right now, the third seed is the LA Rams. And the third seed in the AFC is the winner of the Steelers. So if Calais Campbell has a choice to go to his team, And the only way I see him getting there is one, waiting to the playoffs to waive him. That if somebody would be like, you know, we're going to claim this guy. You know, basically that's why the Dolphins put it out there. The Dolphins put it out there 3 weeks in advance to let teams know, hey, this guy is probably going to be waived if we don't make the playoffs. All right. Don't like giving teams preparation, plenty of time. So we're literally about to go to Cancun. Right? So why would they do it? It doesn't make sense. He wants to play for a playoff team, but if he can threaten to retire, how much leverage does he have? And the reason I'm bringing him up is because the Detroit Lions showed you that we need some help. I know Brad and Dan are doing the best that they can. I know the guys on the team, the Mohammeds, the Pascals, the Levi, I mean, they stepped up and did the best they could. I'm not even at this point. We are just at a lack of talent and depth that we just don't have. And we waived Chris Smith. He has not been back to the practice squad at the making of this video, so he may not be back. Maybe he got claimed, maybe he didn't. I don't know. But I wonder the likelihood of him dropping to us. If he has a choice, does he have any leverage to make it to a team like the Detroit Lions, a team that has bottom 3 in the waiver wire? But just something outside the box video, because I totally expect the Miami Dolphins, they need a perfect storm of things to happen, and I just don't see it. So it could be as early as this week. But somehow, if they survive, it also could be next week, and then that will definitely go into the playoff weeks if it come down to the last game of the season. But it will be interesting to see Calais Campbell. I'm imagining, we're so hurt on that defensive line. I'm imagining him playing for our team. And I'll just say one thing. We need him on this team because we drafted a guy 96 overall, and he was inactive. The week that we lost our massive interior defensive lineman, this dude was inactive. So I'm hoping that somehow, some way, that he can come to the Detroit Lions. If they give him a choice, I'm hoping his choice is the Detroit Lions. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Just the outside the box video, something else I wanted to talk about. Let me know your thoughts. You guys are awesome. This channel is made possible by viewers, subscribers, and members just like you. You could be anywhere else on YouTube, but you choose to rock with me. Take care of yourself and each other. And as always, go Lions.